Wuthering Waves 2.0 is coming out next week, and with it arrives Wuthering Waves on the PS5. And also, due to the game having such a big milestone, it may bring back some old players that ended up quitting in the first couple of days when the game was originally very unoptimized, as now it runs significantly better on low-end machines and mobile, like phones and tablets. So, I wanted to go ahead and create this min-max guide for any new players that may be hopping back into the game. Alright, let's just get started immediately. So for Gacha, once you reach level 4.5-ish, you will unlock the mailbox feature, in which you'll find 20 standard pulls and about 25 pulls worth of premium currency. With the 20 standard pulls, you want to go ahead and use them all in the novice banner until you get your random 5-star. It's a discounted banner that will grant you guaranteed a 5-star within 40 pulls. Once you end up finishing this, depending on what 5-star you got, if you got Verena, then you're pretty much set. Then you can use the ticket for whatever 5-star you want. If you didn't get Verena, I would suggest using the ticket on Verena. The worst 5-star and the best 5-star, I'll put up like a little tier list right now. Verena is going to be at the top. She's your highest priority. And your worst choice is going to be Calcharo. He's not going to be evidently bad at the beginning, but there's a min-max guide, so if you're looking for the long term, meta-wise, he's a terrible choice. Otherwise, you're going to then be greeted with Player's Choice banner, which basically just means you get to pick what 5-star you want to have on the banner, and then you get to roll into that banner to eventually get the 5-star once you reach 80 pulls. You will complete both these banners within the 2 weeks that you're playing. Rolling advice. So the first half of 2.0 is going to bring back Gacha, who's going to be a sub-DPS coordinated attacker who buffs both glacial damage and skill damage. She's, if I compared anything, just think of her as like an Icylon if you've played Genshin. Otherwise, she's just basically a sub-DPS who also gives some buffing to your main DPS. Otherwise, the other unit is going to be Corletta, who's going to be a single target monster. She's going to be a glacial unit that focuses on destroying bosses and such, but she's also going to end up struggling a bit in AoE towers. But thankfully, most of the towers in this game are single target, so she's going to be one of the better DPS in the game on release. For the second half of 2.0, it's going to bring back Jinshi, who's going to be the premium gold standard for DPS in the game. If you want to play completely meta, I would suggest rolling this character and her weapon, as she's just extremely hard to power creep, as not only does she have quality of life, but she's also extremely bursty, she's extremely good in AoE and in single target. And then her teams are extremely flexible with whatever unit you want to use, as long as they have a coordinated attack. And for the second 5-star of 2.0's second half is going to be Rosha, who's going to be Havoc sub DPS, who's going to mainly focus on buffing Havoc and basic attack damage dealers. The two people that end up coming to mind is Havoc Rover and Camellia. Obviously, if you're just starting out the game, you're not going to have Camellia, but if you do, she's going to be pretty good. Otherwise, for Havoc Rover, I would honestly say this isn't a bad team if you really like Havoc Rover and how they play, but otherwise it's not exceptional, and I wouldn't go out of my way to vertically invest in their team. In terms of character progression, once you picked Verena, from either getting her from Novice Choice or using your 5-star selector on her, then you want to pair her up with Sanhua as your sub DPS, and then you want to use either Encore or Ling Yang or Calcharo as your main DPS, or any 4-star main DPS if you really want them. The best choice is going to be Encore, as she has pretty relevant meta teams with Sanhua, Verena, and Encore, and this team is still used in Tower to this day. Very useful utility in the game, especially for early game whenever you're like level locked and you're trying to get to the story, is the loot mapper. If you press tab, you're going to eventually get to this utility, and you can just place down basically like this UAV, and it's going to show you all the chests in the area, and you have unlimited of these. You can place 3 at a time, and you could just continue just running around the entire map and get all the chests that are here without like going to an external website and having to look up the locations. Okay, and another tip for optimizing your account progression is making use of these like pharmacy or souvenir shops, as when you're leveling up your characters, you're obviously going to need some of these materials, and you can buy most of like the flowers. You're capable of buying most of the flowers for like Ascension, or you come to this souvenir shop here in the city, and you can buy like Ascension materials for your weapons. So if I can just find it.
Welcome to the Pioneer Association store. What would you like
And you
today?
can just come here. You could buy a couple of standard wishes as well, but you can mostly look out for like these materials for weapons and characters. You can just straight up buy these so you can save your wave plates for other things like boss farming. Which is going to be just the character overview. One, you have your stats right here. You have your weapon. You have your echoes, which are basically just artifacts, or if you play Star Rail, it's going to be your relics. And then here, you have your skill tree, which is not really a skill tree because it's just basic attack, skill, forte circuit, which you can understand this in just a little bit, your ultimate, and then your intro skill. So, if you want to understand your forte for each and every single character, see this button down here, just press it. It'll tell you exactly what the forte is in detail. If you want a little bit more detail, or you want like a demonstration, click go to trial. And then it will bring you to a trial telling you tips and tricks about the character. Whatever character that you have, it will literally tell you everything that you need to know about them in terms of combat. Boom. I just saved you from looking up so many guides on this game. Just like that. 40 seconds. Just saved you a lot of time. So let's go back in here. Outside of the forte and stuff like that, then you have your sequences, which are basically just think of constellations and things like that. They give basic buffs. They, for the most part, aren't characters are not dependent on these as of current. In the databank, you can actually come here, press databank, and then come here, and it will show you all the echoes that you do or don't have, and also the rarities of which you have caught them. If you really want to go ahead and speedrun this game, once you get done with all the story stuff and you're kind of level locked to do your story, just come here, fill this out, and you'll get EXP from your thing, and then you can continue using the rewards to progress your account. Okay, another tip is going to be the red glowing elites around the map. I'll put up a map of them where they are right now. If you end up killing these, you're guaranteed to get an echo drop. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's gold, sometimes it's purple, but the point is that you're guaranteed the drop if you kill them. If you end up killing an elite one when you're extremely under level and you get a gold drop, that could be a massive improvement for your account. So if you're, bored, or you're like, I want to waste 15 minutes of my life trying to beat this boss, then go ahead. It will reward you, but be warned that they do end up one-shotting you if you're like below like level 40 or so. So obviously depending on the boss, some of them go up to like level 100 and they'll just straight up one-shot you. So if you can do it, that's another tip you go ahead and do to go ahead and further min-max your account. Okay, so I just wanted to go ahead and basically rapid fire some tips at the end here because I don't think any of these deserve their own dedicated sections. So biggest tip, speedrun the story. 2, there's going to be a section in your guidebook that gives you kind of challenges to go ahead and do. Once you complete all the challenges per page, it'll give you some astrite, which is premium currency, some EXP, and some other things. Just use this as like a guideline of where you should be and what you should be doing in the game at any time. Once you complete this, you will basically understand what you're doing in the game. Outside of that, kill any echo that you see, as they will obviously drop an echo and give you databank EXP, and the databank will obviously give you some rewards per level. Once you get to level 15, then you can start getting legendary drops and you can start making big improvements to your character's gearing. Once you reach level 45 in the game, you will get access to a box that will give you any 5-star weapon of your choosing, a standard 5-star weapon of your choosing. Basically just pick whatever weapon that your main DPS uses. So if you picked Encore, pick the Catalyst. If you pick Calcharo, pick the Broadblade. If you're going to roll Corralata, get the pistols. If you're going to roll Jinchi, pick the Broadblade, so on and so forth. As for gearing characters in this game, it's pretty straightforward. Each Echo, mostly, for the most part, matches their main DPS's element. So for example, Encore runs the fusion set because she's a fusion character. Calcharo runs the lightning set or the electric set because he's electro. Ling Yang runs the glacial set because he's glacial. As for sub DPS's, it's also mainly the same streamlined process. Most sub DPS in the game, such as Mortefi, Sanhua, Yinlin, run the Moonlight Cloud set. It gives energy and then it also buffs your main DPS, so it's very efficient on these type of characters. And then for your healers, they're going to run the Rejuvenating Glow set, which is basically just a healer set that also provides some buffs to your entire team. It's very streamlined, very easy. Once you play the game a little bit, most of the things come very easily, as the tutorials in the game are pretty straightforward. If you have any real questions, there is the page that I showed you before that kind of shows you what the combos and like how the characters' kits work, and you get them done in like 2 minutes. So if you're curious, just head to that page and it'll tell you. Besides all that, that's going to be my guide. If you have any questions or concerns, you could just go ahead and like leave a comment. I have nothing better to do, so I'll answer it. But appreciate you watching, and I'm out.